Hi, we're going to run through the calibration procedure for a flow force impact wire using the XP1 controller. To do this, you'll need a test container so that you can measure a known amount of product and use that to compare with what the actual XP1 controller says, and we'll take you through the process of doing this calibration procedure. We're going to use a small 20 litre tub because our little machine is calibrated in kilograms, not tonnes. You'll need a suitable size receptacle to allow you to run a reasonable amount of sand or product through into the test container. Nominally 30 to 40 seconds worth is adequate in most cases. So the first thing we do, we'll put the test weight and check the weight of our test receptacle. In this instance here, you'll see it's 0.6 of a kilogram. We'll take this and mark it on our calibration sheet and begin the setup for the rest of the testing. You'll see we've done a calibration sheet up on our whiteboard here, and we're going to do 3 tests. We think that'll be enough. We've noted that our test bucket weighs 0.6 of a kilogram. We're going to need to mark up the measured weight by the XP1 controller, the weight of our bucket off of our scales, and from that we'll calculate our actual weight, and then the device will calculate a calcon, and we'll go through the procedure of automatically calibrating the machine. Following the material calibration procedure in the flow force manual, section 7.2, we need to go to our XP1 controller, select batch mode, we stop the flow through the wire, and then we zero the wire. So we'll just show you how to do that on the XP1 controller. Using the up and down buttons, go to change mode, into batch, and now it's reading batch and total. We'll now stop the flow through the device and we'll zero the batch weight, and you'll see that comes back to 0. We're now ready to start our first test, so we'll begin to feed some product through our impact wire. We have a little demonstration jig set up here where we pour sand through an orifice into our impact wire, and we'll begin doing that now. We'll see the flow come through. And it'll flow through our wire into our test container, and we'll put a batch through and compare the outputs. You'll see while this is flowing through on our XP1 controller, the batch is going up, the total's going up. Okay, batch is complete, and we'll take the reading from the XP1 controller of 15.98 kilograms, and we'll check the weight from our container on a set of scales. So we'll place the container on our scales, and we see we have a reading of 20.8 kilograms, and so we'll mark this up on our calibration sheet. So you'll see we've marked up our test sheet. The XP1 controller said it had 15.98 kilograms through. Our scales weigh 20.8 minus the 0.6 of a kilogram for the bucket, leaves us with an actual massive product of 20.2 kilos. You'll note that we'd actually checked what the calcon was previously, and it was 77. We'll now place these figures into the XP1 controller and show you how to do the calibration. So we go to the XP1 controller, using the up and down arrow buttons, we go to select material calibration, enter, and then we scroll through the keys and we put in our actual weight, which is 20.2 kilograms. So now we've done the first test, and we can zero the batch weight and get ready to do our next calibration run. Zero batch weight, and we're now ready to run test number 2. Before we start the test, we should actually check what the Calcon has changed to, and we make a note of this. So we've got to edit calibration, and you'll see in this instance that the Calcon has changed to 60. So you have to enter through those to get it to come back to 0. We're now ready to run test number 2. Okay, so we've placed the test container back under the outlet to the impact wire, and we'll start feeding for test number 2. You see the sand flowing through. You see our batch totalizer going up. Okay, the batch is complete. The XP1 controller has a reading of 20.16 kilograms. We'll now weigh our container, and we see that comes in at 20.8 kilograms. So we'll note these figures on our calibration sheet and do the edit calibration process again. So test 2, XP1 controller reads 20.16 kilograms. Our scales for our test weight is 20.8 minus the 0.6 for the bucket, leaves us an actual weight of product of 20.2 kilograms. We'll now put that figure into the XP1 controller, and we should get a new Calcon. So we're back at the XP1 controller. We'll scroll through to material calibration, push enter, and we'll enter the new figure of 20.2. Enter, and while we're here we'll just quickly check what the Calcon is by scrolling through the menu. And the Calcon is now 59. So we'll run one more test now. We'll zero the batch weight while we're here, and ready for test number 3. Batch weight is now zeroed, and we'll get ready to run test number 3. We set up for test number 3. We have the bucket underneath the impact wire. We've zeroed our batch. We can now start to feed for batch number 3. See the sand flowing through on the impact plate. Down into our test container. And our controller is reading the actual weight. So looking at this, our controller is reading 20.2 kilograms. So we'll do a check on the actual weight, measured weight. So our test containers on the scales, we have a scale reading of 20.8. we'll put this data onto our calibration sheet, get the new final weight, and put that data back into the controller for a final calibration. So we put the data onto our calibration sheet. You'll see that the XP1 controller measured 20.2 kilograms, our scale weight was 20.8, our container weight was 0.6, so our actual weight was 20.2, which means that our calibration from previously with a Calcon 59 will stay the same. We would probably run one or two more tests at this to prove that we were close, but looking at this, we'd say the machine is calibrated.